Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Friday Ramblings. I am your perpetual host, David, aka the Bardic One. And we're going to break out into a little bit of a new theme here. Instead of doing a full-on breakdown of a particular given series, like we've been doing as of late, we're going to go with something a little more thematic. Kind of a salute to a certain character archetype. It's a character archetype that is featured pretty much exclusively in anime/manga. Although, of course, video games, you'll catch a few references to it, since they are highly influenced by anime and manga. But I digress. Let's break down to it. Let's get to it. Let's have some fun, because we are going to discuss the awesomeness of the wise old butt kicker. That's right. We are saluting the senior citizens who kick butt, take names. Why? Because, as I said, it is a character archetype that is very prevalent in anime and manga. And as such, it is something we're studying. The long and the short of it is that, here in America, we have a certain idea of those of a high age count. The senior citizens. And while we do say, well, they've lived through a lot, they have a lot, they've got a lot of experiences, we kind of look down on them because they're seen as, they're physically weak. Their minds are starting to go on them in a lot of cases. They need care. And I'm not saying they don't, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong or incorrect about any of those things. But one of the great aspects of fiction is you can present the best perception of anything and everything because it's fiction. You're allowed to tweak reality a little bit. So you look at a country like Japan, where they hold their elders in high esteem culturally, especially any elder that is involved in any form of martial training, because, hey, these are people that have been training for a lot longer than you, they have been sparring for a lot longer than you, they may have even fought legitimately out in the streets a lot more than you have. Therefore, you can learn from them and you do not mess with them. So, as I said, we're going to do a quick rundown of some of my personal favorites from my personal favorite anime and manga. So let's start with the alpha and omega of battle-centric anime. And that is Dragon Ball. Now again, as I've said on other videos, for reference folks, when I do say Dragon Ball, I'm referring to the meta franchise, so I am including all of the different show iterations. Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, various movies. So, it is what it is. And when it comes to old butt kickers, the eternal Master Roshi is right there at the forefront. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Dragon Ball franchise, a quick introduction to Master Roshi. He is the founder of the Turtle Hermit style of martial arts, which is the martial arts that is used by main character Son Goku, his close friends Krillin and Yamcha, and serves as one of the two forms practiced by Goku's son Gohan, as well as used by, in the later half of the meta franchise, Goku's second son Goten, and to an extent Gohan and Vidal's child, Pan. So, it is a big deal. It is the most widely used martial art demonstrated in the show. As the founder of the style, Master Roshi is, thus, as the name says, the original master of it, and the teacher of that first generation of students, thus the indirect teacher of the sons and granddaughter. But more importantly in that is the fact that even into his later years, when he was all but retired and living on his little tropical island with himself and his turtle companion, Roshi was still in incredible physical shape and capable of fighting, to the point that he entered the world's strongest martial arts tournament twice over, won the first year, and made it to the semifinals of the second year, where he willingly forfeited because he realized that his students had new rivals who had sprung up from other schools that would continue to push them, and thus Roshi no longer needed to actively participate. Roshi is capable of, besides his standard fighting, summoning all his energy and inner strength to temporarily boost his physical body up to a super muscular version, which temporarily boosts his strength. So when he does need to fight seriously, hey, he can go serious. But even without that, he has been shown to be more than capable of taking out 90% of pure humans on the planet. Again, I say pure humans because for people who don't watch the series, there are a few aliens and half aliens in the show. So, you just kind of got to categorize things. Oh, and eventually a couple cyborgs. These things happen. But yes, no matter how old he gets, Roshi manages to maintain his status as somebody who can easily whoop the butt of an average punk with a gun. And I'm not even kidding. It has been shown in some of the sagas that, yeah, Roshi will flat out lay out somebody trying to intimidate him with firearms. He ain't putting up with that crap. We move on from that standard to quick little bounce with Naruto. And that is the main character of Naruto's own personal mentor for a time, and that is Jiraiya the Sage. Now, like Roshi, Jiraiya has a little bit of a perverted streak. This is, to an extent, kind of part of the trope of the wise old butt kicker, is they seem to enjoy the younger female form. What can you say? They're usually supporting characters, thus they're used a bit for comic relief. These things happen. But more importantly than that is the fact that Jiraiya is considered throughout the Hidden Leaf Village, which is the main village and home base of your various heroes of the Naruto series, to be highly respected for his knowledge of very advanced techniques, but his own influence over training, either directly or indirectly, some of the greatest ninjas of the last couple generations, as well as having trained alongside the greatest ninjas of his own generation. Jiraiya would prove ultimately during the Naruto saga. Yes, I know I'm giving out spoilers and I usually avoid this, but these things happen, folks. Jiraiya would prove that even into his older age and his mostly retired years, that the heart of a hero still beat in him, and his end came before the end of the series when he got in combat with one of the top big baddies of the series. Excuse me, I just want to kind of minimize that for a second. To find out important information about exactly who this big baddie was, what their powers are, and thus how the threat can be dealt with by his student Naruto and the rest of the Hidden Leaf ninjas. So by all means, yes, we definitely salute you, Jiraiya. Moving on from there, we discuss another perverted old man, and in fact, in a lot of ways, this is going to be the end of the old pervert martial artist trilogy, and that is Ranma 1/2's Happosai. Happosai is the founder of the Anything Goes School of Martial Arts, which is the martial art practiced by titular character Ranma Saotome, as well as his father and his father's best friend, who is the father of Ranma's primary romantic interest. Happo shows up a little bit after the series begins and is feared by his direct students due to his habit of playing cruel, mischievous pranks and being so powerful and strong a martial artist that the only way that he was ever dealt with was by getting him passed out, blacked out, drunk. Yeah, that is how we first meet Happosai. We find out he has not been around for a while because they got him absolutely blacked out drunk and then threw him in a cave and initiated a landslide to effectively bury him alive. And he still dug his way out. Happo was primarily used in the series, outside of that initial intro episode, as comic relief, although he does, on rare occasions, help Ranma deal with various rivals and evildoers by providing some sage advice to help Ranma find out the weakness of the given enemy. Although this is rare, Happo is usually more content to simply torment and tease everybody around him because nobody's taken him out. Ever. Happosai is like, a couple 100 years old. Maybe even older. Nobody puts him down. All you do is delay the inevitable. So we're going to move on to a couple characters who are not quite as pervy, but definitely maintain that smart-ass, wicked sense of humor, especially when dealing with the younger generation, who are often the main stars of the show. From a personal favorite of mine, Toriko, we have the two foster brothers. They are not related by blood, but they were brought up together, of Ichirayu and Jiro. Ichirayu is the man who, in turn, adopted and raised the 4 children who would become the 4 heavenly kings, including main character Toriko, teaching them the basics of their butt-kicking lifestyle, and served as president of the largest and most socio-politically influential group in their fictional world, the IGO. Ichirayu was often shown to be somebody who took things very seriously, but you couldn't tell it from talking with him. Had a habit of wearing, little tropical shirts, all, unbuttoned and drafted open, making jokes, acting like nothing really bothered him. But when people weren't looking, He would get that serious look on his face, and he would reveal that he has got plans inside of plans inside of plans, because he knows more about the threat that's soon going to envelop the entire world than those youngins. And in fact, part of his plans within plans within plans is preparing them to deal with that threat by sending them on various training missions, as well as occasionally personally sparring with them to gauge their progression as martial heroes. Like Jiraiya, Ichirayu would meet his end before the end of the series by going out heroically in combat while attempting to deal with his younger foster brother, who is one of the secondary antagonists of the series. The other brother involved in this equation would be Jiro, aka Knocking Master Jiro, because his particular fighting style involves not so much just plain beating something down until it ain't twitching no more, but specifically utilizing nerve attacks and pressure points to paralyze things, aka knocking. He is considered the greatest knocking master on that world and a living legend. He's also a bit of a drunk and is infamous for his pompadour hairstyle. However, anytime a significant battle takes place, Jiro is there in the background and sometimes in the foreground to make sure that the younger generation does not overreach their limits, and on more than one occasion gave out sage advice to keep the heroes on the right path, to not just staying heroes, but developing at the proper pace without being foolhardy enough to start fights they weren't ready for. Jiro, like Ichirayu, tends to come off a little lighthearted due to his often drunken nature, but has shown when it is time for combat to be very serious and very frightening, managing to deal with pretty much every threat that comes around, although usually briefly, because like his brother, Jiro recognizes that the younger generation needs to be the one to settle the problem primarily. He's just there to lend a hand and make sure things don't get overwhelming. When it was all said and done, Jiro would fall, but he fell to the top villain of the entire series, and only after showing that that is the one person on the planet that potentially could have killed Jiro. So, Knocking Master, we salute you. So, who else do we have? Well, let me just take a quick little list, see who else we can set up. Haha, yes. How could I forget? From a series we have discussed for in detail in a previous video, which I encourage you to watch, Yu Hakusho has their own wise old butt-kicking martial artist du jour, but flips the script a bit, at least so the one we've been running off so far, by using a female. That is right, we are talking about Genkai. Genkai is a psychic, first and foremost, famous for being able to put down any demon that wanders onto the mortal plane and tries to stir up trouble, as well as innovating several martial art techniques due to her vast knowledge of spiritual energy and the best ways to manipulate it. Genkai would often serve as a trainer for main character Yusuke, as well as get his back in various fights. Genkai would, at the very, very, very end of Yu Hakusho, pass on of natural causes and old age, giving Yusuke one last word of advice when he's on one last mission to make sure that her favorite apprentice doesn't screw things up too bad. Because let's be honest, if you've ever read Yu Hakusho, you know left on his own, Yusuke tends to screw things up because he just kind of plays everything as it happens, running off his instincts. Genkai has taken out many people, including both human and demon martial artists, and is the only one on the list so far to have also mastered the art of temporarily rejuvenating her body, which means we get to see the young and very cute Genkai. Because let's face it, if you're going to have a female martial arts master with a flashback or secret technique to rejuvenate the body, hey, you gotta appreciate somebody that was quite a looker in her day. Especially when it's actually extremely instrumental to one of the major plots of the entire series. Because her past and her decisions on how to deal with problems from her own time kind of came back to haunt everybody. Whoopsie! But in many ways, Genkai is the perfect balance of butt-kicking, backup, and comedic as her sardonic, short-tempered way of looking at the world and training her idiot apprentice Yusuke means throughout the manga she gets some of the best one-liners in the series. In fact, out of anybody in any manga, she may be one of the meanest but fair trainers because, hey, she'll teach you the techniques. She'll make sure you know what you need to know to save the world. But she will never hesitate to point out the fact that you're being an idiot, you're wasting my time, if you're not going to take this training seriously, go ahead and go out there and get yourself killed. Because, hey, she's old. She knows she doesn't have the rest of her life ahead of her. Shouldn't have time to waste with people who aren't going to give 110%. So Genkai, we salute you. Oh, let me see. You know, I think for now that's pretty much going to wrap us up on this particular episode. I know it's a little bit shorter than most of my other episodes. But, you know what? Sometimes you got to go with the short and sweet. Now, there are a lot more characters that fit this basic archetype that I've laid out here. But, you know, I don't want to spoil it by telling you about all of them. That takes kind of the fun out of life, doesn't it? However, as I said, we have covered a few different series here. We did cover Ranma 1/2. We did cover Naruto. We did cover Dragon Ball. We did cover Toriko. We did cover Yu Hakusho. That is 5 series. 6 nominees, because we did have 2 in Toriko. And I think that's a pretty fair rundown right here, folks. It gives you a great starting point to continue to explore this wonderful archetype yourself. Go ahead, watch a manga. If you see somebody who's old and doesn't seem to be afraid of the young punks hanging out around them, look out, because you know what? Odds are there ain't enough young punks in the city to take that old person out. More importantly, they're probably going to find the young hero du jour and prove to be a major influence on their life in a positive direction. Because the fact is, old people rock. No matter what culture you're from, I think we can all agree that at their core, those who have lived longer lives than us, those who have come before us, have a lot they can teach us and a lot they can do to inspire us. Whether directly as mentors or just plain hearing the stories of some of the stuff they've lived through, which in turn can make you realize that the stuff you're going through, it's the stuff a lot of people go through. And knowing, hey, this person right in front of me, they did live through it. More importantly, they came out better in the long run. Can really help give you the energy you need to get through life. So, go find your own Genkai. Go find your own Knocking Master Zero. Heck, go find your own Master Roshi. I'm just saying, if you do find somebody that's more Master Roshi style, it's a little more Hapasai, might want to encourage them to leave the ladies alone. Just saying. Times are changing. Gotta respect everybody. I do respect all my fans. I appreciate you joining us once again on this wonderful Friday. Please come back in 7, because we will be here and we will always have something more to get you thinking about the wonderful entertainment that you watch, you may not have watched yet, and how you can view it in a positive manner. There's enough panic and craziness going on in this world. Let's all take 30 minutes here to just have a good time. Bye-bye, folks.